But we'll go back home and take a look at the web browser. Now, this phone is powered by a 1 GHz Qualcomm Snapdragon S2 processor, and then along with that you have 512 megabytes of RAM. So performance has been pretty smooth, and of course this is a web browser, so we'll talk about data speeds in a minute. But just so you can get a look at, pinch to zoom, how, overall performance, or what overall performance is like. Like I said, it's been pretty good for me. I have noticed some lag and some hang-ups here and there. It's been a little bit more than what I would like. Sometimes it's frustrating when I'm using the web browser and I want to go home or switch to another app. It is a little more laggy than I would like, but considering it's a mid-range device, I think you're probably going to be willing to make a few concessions since you expect that performance isn't going to be perfect. So wait for this to load up. PhoneDog.com, and we'll take a look at pinch to zoom, and then after this I'll show you some benchmark scores, so give you an idea of how the processor performs. Okay, so PhoneDog.com is loaded up now, and we'll take a look at pinch to zoom. You can see it's kind of laggy, a little unresponsive at times, and of course, having flash content loaded, it's a lot, for the phone to handle, and so for the most part, I would recommend having flash content turned off while web browsing, because with it turned on, the web browsing experience was pretty poor, so kind of disappointing, and overall it's fairly smooth, just a little laggy, but again, having flash content turned off will be much better. You can kind of see it just lags. So it's things like that I experienced in day-to-day use. Overall, general everyday tasks, you see switching through home screens, opening the app drawer, it's pretty responsive, but when I started using the web browser, using multiple apps at one time, it really started lagging, and sometimes it got frustrating. So there's something to consider, and then we'll go to Quadrant Standard, take a look at these scores. Okay, so in the Quadrant Standard benchmark, it scored a 1,209. And then we'll take a look at one other test result to give you an idea of what performance might be like. LinPack for Android. Take a look at these scores. And then on the LinPack test, we have results of 5.6 inflops at 14.9 seconds. So those are just some quick test results to kind of give you an idea of what performance is going to be like. Now, speaking of web browsing, this is a 4G device. I'll show you my speed test results. And interestingly, in testing out the myTouch Q and the myTouch, which are pretty much the same device, I've gotten much better, much faster speeds with the myTouch, and I don't really understand why. But it just goes to show that, speeds are going to vary a lot, just, phone to phone, depending on coverage in your area. So you can see these are just some of the results that I've gotten. We have 2.2, 5, and then 3. So it's a little slower than what I was expecting, after testing out other T-Mobile devices that use their HSPA Plus network. But again, it may vary. You may get speeds that are faster than this. You may get speeds that are lower than this. But after testing it out in the Dallas area, in several different parts of the Dallas area, these are some of my speed test results. Okay, so let's move over to the back of the phone and we'll take a look at the camera. This has a 5 megapixel camera, autofocus, and then an LED flash. And the camera also captures 720p HD video. Now, Aaron has uploaded an HD video sample to our YouTube channel. It's also on PhoneDog.com. So you can check that out and kind of take a look at the quality and judge for yourself if it's adequate enough. But we'll talk about overall picture quality. If we go over to the gallery, which is over here. And overall, picture quality has been good. The detail is kind of lacking in detail, I've noticed, and the colors are slightly faded. But for the most part, for a mid-range device, for the lens quality that you can expect from a device of this caliber, they've been pretty decent. So wait for it to populate the gallery. Again, you'll notice, like I was talking about earlier with the processor, there is some lag and performance is not always the best. And this is a good example of that, so we'll just wait for this to load. Maybe we'll go back to the camera and then go to the gallery. Okay, here we go. So let me go over to some pictures that were taken in daylight. So here are a couple of outdoor shots, and you can see the colors show up pretty well. They're slightly faded, but for the most part, colors show up pretty decently. And you know, really the only thing it's really lacking is detail. If you zoom in just a little bit, you're going to notice the detail is really not that great. But again, you know, for a mid-range device, it's been decent. And then here are some indoor shots, one in low light, and then another one where we added light. So you can kind of see basically the difference there. And then of course it does have a flash. Now you'll notice whenever taking pictures in a slightly dark room with the flash on, it kind of added a yellow or kind of a yellow greenish tint to it. So that was a little disappointing. But that's the camera. There is no front facing camera, so it's a rear facing camera only. So back to the back of the phone, we'll take off the cover here. And you can see that battery, SIM card slot, micro SD card slot. It does ship with a 2 gig card, as you can see, and it supports up to 32 gigs of additional memory. And this is a nice thing to have because the phone ships with a lot of additional apps from T-Mobile and LG. So if we go to the app drawer here, you can see 411 and more bonus apps, the Genius button, which we'll talk about in a minute, highlight, more for me, mobile life organizer, my device, my account. So there's a lot of T-Mobile apps, Name ID, T-Mobile TV, and you can't uninstall these apps. So they're just taking up memory, which is unfortunate, but at least you have this micro SD card slot where you can add memory if you need it. The battery is a 1520 milliamp hour battery, and so, honestly, I was expecting a little bit larger battery for an Android device that's a 4G device, because 4G Android phones tend to drain the battery a lot more quickly than just a 3G device. And battery, again, is very subjective. It's going to vary from person to person. Everyone has different usage habits, and so it's just going to depend on how you use your phone. For me, in my test results, with normal use of web browsing, checking my email, having things like Twitter running in the background, I was able to get through a day, and that's a 12-hour day. So starting in the morning, and then it lasted until the evening. I did have to charge it every night, and you'll probably have to charge it every night too. Alright, so lastly I'll show you this Genius button functionality here. This is a feature that comes with every myTouch device and is exclusive to the myTouch phone, so you can't get this with any other Android device, though there are other options in the Android market. But if we tap and hold, and I'll enter car mode so it's not constantly listening to me. But you can see you have options to call somebody, send a text, search the web, or get directions. And this is great for hands-free mode while you're driving, but you can also use it just, general everyday usage, even when you're not in car mode. So if we exit, it'll constantly be listening to me. And I'll say, get directions to Starbucks. And of course, it's not as advanced as, other voice recognition software out there, like for example Siri on the iPhone. But after testing it out, I've been pretty pleased with it. You can see I told it to get directions to Starbucks, and it's going to get directions to Starbucks after it finds my location. I even tested it out and did a web search for phonedog.com, and it understood phonedog.com. And after testing out other voice recognition software, sometimes PhoneDog isn't recognized because it's not a normal word that we use. It's not a normal term, but it was able to understand that. So that's the Genius button. It's pretty useful. Not everyone's going to use it. You can easily do a Google search and you have the voice recognition there, but it's nice to have the little shortcut right there, always available to you. So that's pretty much it, guys. It's the myTouch Q from T-Mobile. Check it out at your local AT&T store. If you need a physical keyboard, you don't have a lot of options. It seems like manufacturers are kind of going away from that form factor. But if you do want one, this has an excellent keyboard, so definitely check it out. Thanks guys for watching this review. If you have any questions about the myTouch Q or any other phone, you can send me a message on Twitter. My screen name is phonedog_Sydney. I'll try my best to answer your questions if I can. But thanks guys for watching. Keep on phonedog.com for more news, updates, and reviews. I'm Sydney, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.